Morning. Today we'll be reading Gossamer by Stephen Cosgrove and illustrated by Wendy Edelson. Further than far into the very edge of the horizon was a path bordered in snow-covered lacy fern. If you walked down that path, following the snow steps of creatures who went before, you would find a land called Barely There. Barely there, a crystal snowy land filled with the magic and delight of winter's white drape. Hardy shoots of green had begun to pop through the snows of winter past, and the air was full of the promise of spring. The path, well worn by winter, showed late traces of fallen leaves blended with yellowed winter grasses. All of this would have been a dismal scene had it not been for the frost and snow, a gentle winter blaze. Trees that had lost their foliage were painted in crystal colors of ice and blue. Most of the creatures of Barely There, the bears and others of their kind, had long since filled their bellies with good things to eat, put on their night shirts, and had fallen fast asleep. But this was winter in the land of Barely There, a magical place indeed. Instead of being sad at the loss of summer's life, most of the forest creatures were glad, and they relished the gentle bite of winter's touch, for in winter's dying came the promise of spring's rebirth. There lived in this part of Barely There a winter weasel called Pratina. She was the prettiest creature in the land of Barely There, or at least she thought she was. Her coat was velvet white with bits of purple that tipped her royal fur. Her nose was pink and pert and sniffed the gentle breeze for a whiff of perfume that might signal the coming of spring. Her ebony eyes gazed into the morning mist, searching for a bit of this or a bit of that to reflect her beauty. For you see, Pratina liked to compare herself to all the animals in the land of Barely There. Dashing here and there, she searched for another creature that might be as pretty as she. She scampered about the frozen fields, her feet clicking and clacking on the frosted grass. She stopped to look at a blue jay screeching at a cardinal who had dared to sit in the same poplar tree. She thought, I wonder if those birds are as pretty as me. She looked and looked. Then, like tinkling ice, her laughter rang through the meadow. Ha 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 ha. Oh no, those birds can't. Birds aren't nearly as pretty as me. Then she skittered, looking for someone or something that could reflect her beauty. She ran across the crystal meadow just as the sun danced its rainbows from the frozen dew. On and on she ran, singing a simple song. I'm so pretty, can't you see? Is there anyone in Barely There who is as pretty as me? Her simple song was rudely interrupted by 3 chipmunks sitting on the limb of a pitchy pine tree. Here we are, Pratina, they laughed and teased. We are as pretty as thee, can't you see? They posed and primped, and as they chattered from the tree, Don't be silly, she laughed. Chubby little chipmunks as pretty as me. With that she vainly pirouetted in a flurry of frost and rime. Pratina hadn't gone very far when she came upon some bunnies rooting about in the snow, looking for hidden winter carrots. She stopped and laughed as she sang her simple song. I'm so pretty, can't you see? Is there anyone in barely there who is as pretty as me? I know where there is someone as pretty as thee, said one of the rabbits, as he crunched and munched on a bunch of carrots. As pretty as me? She asked in horror. Where's there someone as pretty as me? The rabbit continued his munching and slyly said, Go to Mirror Lake, and there, just at the water's edge, you will find someone as pretty as thee. Thus be careful, for the ice is as thin as your vanity. Pratina, not listening to his warning, cried, It's a lie! There can be no one as pretty as me. She ran and ran until she came to Mirror Lake. Pausing for a moment to catch her breath, she fluffed her hair, put on her prettiest smile, and leaned over the frozen lake to gaze at whatever was as pretty as she. There she saw the blurry outline of a winter weasel, all white and furry bright. Pratina shook her head in fear and fright. Oh no! It is a creature as pretty as me. She began to run across the ice, but no matter how far she ran, whenever she looked down, she could see the ghosted reflection of another creature just as pretty as she. She ran and skittered across the ice, vainly trying to outrun her own reflection. She would have run all the way across the lake had not the ice become weakened by the early spring sun. Long black lines zigged and zagged all around her as the ice began to rumble. Pratina leaped just as the ice cracked, and she landed in a heap on a tiny island right in the center of Mirror Lake. There she sat, afraid of her own reflection.